The Unused Subs' official home ground is Tyler Street Sport, the home of Auckland FC. From first sip to final cheers, with special thanks to Wellington Forest, leading experts in foreign exchange for over 30 years. Hold tight for this week's episode with Goran Paladin, SEAMUS MARTEN of Between Two Beers, and the debut appearance of PAUL IFILL.
Am I correct in saying it's your second appearance on the Unused Subs?
Correct. I made my debut in Season 1 and lucky enough to be reselected in Season 2.
Jacob Spoonley makes way after only one episode, and then we bring in the real big guns, podcaster supreme, one-time flatmate of mine. We won't talk about you falling down the stairs in the towel.
No, let's not.
Too late.
You've left futsal, Sunday futsal friends off there as well.
Great to have you here, as well as the big man himself, Paul IFILL, the greatest import the Wellington Phoenix has ever seen. Ify, it's been too long, mate. This is your debut appearance on the bench with the Unused Subs, mate. How are you feeling?
I'm happy to be here. Obviously not good enough for Season 1, so I had to go away and think about my performances elsewhere, I assume. Hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice to be here now.
Look, there were some sort of contractual arrangements that we won't talk about, Ify, that precluded us from inviting you into the subs bench. But I'm just so pleased that we could have you now. And to kick things off with you, I want to do a pop quiz. So last week, Seamus, you would have seen this. We were startled by 8 nude mannequins above us, usually adorned with Auckland FC shirts. They have now been dressed. I need you to give me the names on the shirts that adorn the mannequins. Essentially, it's like the top 8 of Auckland FC. Can you do it?
And if you don't, you're never coming back ever again.
Who's
going to make the top 8? 7 players, 7 outfield players and a goalkeeper.
There's got to be some gimmies in there, Ify, surely. Come on.
7 outfield players. Okay. I'll go Sakai.
Yeah, that's the given. Ding.
Guillermo Mai.
Of course, Guillermo Mai is in there.
He's doing well.
2 for 2.
Okay, Dan Hall.
Dan Hall,
He's
3
good.
for 3.
He's good.
Franny De Vries.
He's halfway there.
Unreal seas.
Yeah, this guy knows his football.
I'd hate to get one wrong now.
This is a tough one. I'm going to go Verstrata.
Oh,
yes, Verstrata, you've got 3 to go.
Had you tilted the camera up before?
Oh, actually, I did send him a picture of the set, and it did have a wide shot of the shirts. You're doing so well, mate. You got 3 to go.
I've tried to throw him off there.
I'm going Logan Rogerson.
That's your first fail, mate. No Rogerson. Yeah.
Keeper. The keeper's a giveaway. Or is it?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one between those two.
Hold on. Jake Brimmer.
Yes.
Good.
You've redeemed yourself. Brimmer.
Good.
Damn it. I'm going to go Brimmer first, but I thought Rogerson's goal should have got him in there, you know? Michael Vald.
Yeah. Well done, mate. Well done. Because that's a tough one between Vald and Sale.
Yeah. 1 to go?
Yep.
Oh, want to go? I'm going to go Cosgrove.
Oh, he's done it.
Unbelievable.
He's done it.
Paul IFILL. That is magnificent. That's why we've got him on the Unused Subs. It's that kind of knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah. Well done. And we'll talk more about Sam Cosgrove a little bit later on. But Ify, mate, you've had so much success with Wellington Olympic. What is it? 3 straight Chatham Cups? You might have a job at Nottingham Forest before you know it. Except, you don't want it? You don't want it? No, it's not for you.
Well,
it's not for you.
Well, we'll probably get into it. I'll take the job just to get the payout.
Yeah.
But I don't see that there being any.
Us as assistants?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come in. We'll
Thanks.
go together. We'll last about 3 weeks. A few mil in the bank and come home.
I honestly thought, Ify and Shay, that it was going to be a situation that did wonders for trans-Tasman relations. Chris Wood, 20-goal striker in the Premier League. Ange Postecoglou, Aussie, comes in. A match made in heaven. It's an absolute balls-up disaster, Shay. He's gone after 39 days, and it's tough for him. Obviously, it's going to be embarrassing and all of that, but I'm choosing to see this as a cloud with a very silver lining for somebody like Chris Wood.
Yeah, I think if you're Chris Wood, you're looking at this maybe with a glass half full mentality. I think
maybe
the writing,
in 3/4.
Yeah, even more so. I think when Ange arrived in there, I think maybe the first or second game, Chris Wood found himself on the bench.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of collective New Zealand football fans sort of took a breath and went, maybe he's not suited for Angeball here. 39 days later, I guess depending on who comes in eventually, Wood could see himself back as the main man for Nottingham Forest and leading the line and hopefully recapturing the form from last year as well.
Ify, what is it about Angeball that Woodsy doesn't fit in with?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what their relationship was like previously. Ange might have looked at him and thought, the way I want to play, he doesn't do certain aspects of that well enough. Ultimately, he didn't find anybody else that did those aspects equally as well. And what I would always go back to, you've got a guy that's banging in goals, putting the ball in the net is the hardest part of the game. So I would start with that guy, stick him in, and let's work around that.
Seems pretty obvious, eh?
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what I'm doing compared with Ange. Ange has been unbelievable. But I think with Ange, it takes time to understand what he wants to do. He needs a full pre-season. When you go in mid-season, I think you have to look at it and go, right, what have I got that's already working? Let's stick with that, and we can tweak bits and pieces, and we'll get close to Angeball by the end of the season. We won't be there, but then come pre-season, I can sign who I need, I can get rid of who I need to get rid of, and let's go. But that's so difficult in the Premier League today, especially, and I think Ange should have known this, working for a guy like Marinakis. Like, he was never going to give you time. So it's not like you can go, I'm great in the second season, that's when I win trophies, blah, blah, blah. This needed to happen yesterday, and it didn't. So the only worry really for me around Chris Wood is there more bad blood around the club now? Does he feel like he's never going to get back in depending on who comes in? If the new guy comes in, doesn't like him, is it too late? Or has he already spoke to his agent and said, get me out of here? Because there's been talks of West Ham. I think that would suit, obviously, getting back in there with his old coach. So it'll be interesting these next couple of weeks to see who comes in. There's talk of Sean Dyche. Obviously, with Sean Dyche, he knows Woodsy ever so well. I would imagine that would be a match made in heaven. I know Dyche pretty well. Is Dyche confident enough to go in with Marinakis? Probably. Is he stupid enough? I'm not so sure. So, time will tell. But for me, looking at the bigger picture, I can understand why Ange went in there, but I think he was a bit naive in thinking he'd be given the time that he thought he could to get it right, is what I'm saying. Does
it damage Ange's reputation, but being in there so quickly?
Not in my opinion. I would say any other. No, I'll tell you why. I'd say any other club, yes. I think with this one, I looked at it and I thought, who is going to go in there? Like, Marinakis has got his hands all over it. He's going to stick his oar in. He's coming down on the pitch. All that stupidness. And then you see it's Ange and you go, both Greeks, maybe this will work a little better. But I thought to myself, if he's not going to be given the time, has Ange just gone in there and gone, well, what's the worst that can happen? I go in, he sacks me, I get a payout. I don't really lose much. I think if he'd have gone into a more stable club and been very poor, then I think his reputation is damaged beyond belief. And all of a sudden you're going, well, where does his next job go? Whereas most clubs will look at it and go, well, geez, what chance did he have with Marinakis? Let's not worry about it. We'll give him another shout somewhere else.
You got an issue with the postman or something?
I have. I think the postman's at the door. I'll let the dog savage him.
Yeah. Because on the outside, it does look incredibly harsh, but you're right. I think in terms of Ange Postecoglou's future, it could well be one of the best things, because your reputation's even more damaged, I guess, if by the end of the season you're getting yourself relegated and you drop out from being, having a flying season last year as a club, getting back into Europe and then all the way down into the championship. It
seems very egotistical, his approach, though. As soon as he got in the door there, it was like, I want these guys playing Angeball by Wednesday or whatever day that he got in there. And to your point, Ify, you look at what you've got at your disposal and then create something from that. And maybe by the end of the season you're playing that Angeball style. But to just say, hey, Woodsy, I know it was only a matter of months ago that you banged in those 20 goals for Forest, but we're going in a different direction. I thought it was so short-sighted. Do managers, do they go, it's my way or the highway? Or have you seen managers go a little bit more flexible around what they've got at their disposal?
Everybody's different. The issue in today's game is that everybody's supposedly got to have a philosophy and a playing style, and it's got to be this. And everybody says Pep's ruined football. Well, he hasn't. Pep's ruined football for people that didn't understand football. So if you go into a club and you look at it and you've got Chris Wood, if you want to play the way Pep does or Ange does it, cool. Go about that in the middle of the season, and you see what you get. If you go into a club and go, well, actually, this is my philosophy, but there's no way I can get there within the next 6 months. Let's get to the end of the season. So I'll work with Chris Wood, and it might be his last season at the club. But I'll tell you what, we'll get 15 goals out of him, and we'll play a little bit of a different style just to make sure that we stay in the league and I stay in my job. Then come pre-season, all of your work, will be done in the transfer window. Players will understand what you do. Then you can talk about your philosophy and your playing style, blah, 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 and properly implement it. And I don't know why you wouldn't go that way. I think there's coaches that have come in. I look at Arne Slot, for instance. He came in and had a look at what Klopp had done and went, well,
and then ruined it.
A few things. Well, that's this year.
But is this the cycle you're talking about, Ify? Right?
This is the cycle. This is the cycle. So he kind of left it as is and went, well, look, I want to put my stamp on it, but bloody hell, not much is wrong here. Let's kind of go and we'll implement a bit at a time. And then he's had the pre-season now to go his own way, and maybe it's not working. But again, let's give him a little bit of time. I think there's an issue at the moment, obviously, with Mo Salah. For whatever reason, he is not in form. And I think, last year he was flying, arguably one of the best in the Prem. So I think if he can get him back right and implement some of the things that he's been trying to do in the pre-season, then I think they'll get back to what they're doing.
You spent a bit of time in the English football pyramid. Did you ever come across a scenario like this? I mean, Jesus, we are 8 games into a Premier League season and Forest have sacked 2 managers. Did you ever come across anything quite like this in all of your time over there?
No, not personally. I mean, there's always that basket case club with a chairman that is, got his finger on the trigger and you kind of know of them. But this is kind of unprecedented at that level as well. Normally it's down the levels. You've got somebody in League Two who's spent a bit of money and they want to get rid of him and their son's not playing or blah, blah, blah. There's normally some nepotism.
Put little Jimmy in.
Yeah. But in this case, no, I just think, but historically it was there. You could already see last season that Marinakis has got some issues going on. And then he starts the season as he does with Santo and you're going, who would want to go in there? Ange steps up. Yeah, let's go. Who's going to be the next guy? He needs to be bulletproof. You need a clause in your contract that Marinakis can't come within 100. I think you need to speak to the police about that. But I think, you've got to keep him away, basically, is what I'm saying.
Well, who is the next guy? And I guess it leads to a prediction of sorts from all of us. Where does Chris Wood finish up here? Is he a Nottingham Forest man? Does he go with Nuno? Does he stay for somebody like Sean Dyche? What happens here, Seamus?
I think the most important thing from Chris's perspective, he's got to be playing. It's a World Cup year. He's got to be playing. He's got to be scoring goals. So I think he's got to ride it out and see who comes in. I mean, there's no chance of him going anywhere until January. So he is going to be at Nottingham Forest until that window opens. But, I mean, it would be a dream reunion if Sean Dyche is one of the names that's been mentioned, does come to ride in and rescue the day for Nottingham Forest. I think at least he knows how best to use Chris Wood in that perspective. But if another manager comes in that maybe has another philosophy, as you say, Ify, then, maybe he starts to think, what's my best chance to put my best foot forward so that when I arrive in the USA, Canada and Mexico, I am flying?
Yeah, look, I'm with you 100% there. I think he has to wait. What's another week or two? See who comes in. If it's Dyche, I'm sure he'll stay. Like you said, if it's somebody completely different, you give it a couple of weeks. Does it look like I'm going to be in the squad? If not, then can he get out on loan? The problem with the loan system is you can't loan between Premier League clubs, can you? I think that's still the rule, is it?
Yeah, look, that's buried deep in the fine print now. I'm not sure on that.
I'm not sure, but I mean, it's going to be hard for him to get out on loan. I think he'd need to move in the January, but that's probably not too late. That keeps him fit enough to have a run at the World Cup, or he gets a move in the January. Could he? The MLS would be probably somewhere where I could think he could turn up. Saudi Arabia, go and have one last sort of run at making life-changing money. Not that he's struggling for a pound note, I'm sure, but that could be where he could end up. It's probably a little sooner than he would have thought. I think he would have thought he's got another 18 months in the Prem and then he makes that move. But sometimes your hand is forced by the situation you find yourself in.
Yeah, well, we wish him all the best and hopefully it resolves itself in the best possible way. My pick, I'd like to see the Burnley reunion. I think Sean Dyche and Chris Wood, they'd get the best out of each other and it'd be a return to old ways. So fingers crossed on that front. Closer to home, though, we saw the first round of the A-League season get underway over the weekend. A couple of draws for our Kiwi sides involved. the AFC Melbourne victory 0-0 draw, the semi-final stalemate, if you like, Seamus. Some really interesting selection decisions from Steve Corica with Guillermo Mai and Logan Rogerson on the bench.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that lineup come out. I would have expected Guillermo Mai to start to see and try and get that link in combination with Cosgrove early on. You know, in his post-match comments, I saw Steve Corica mention maybe a little bit of jitters. Mai might not have had the mileage in the legs, perhaps coming back from injury. I thought they once again, the fact that they didn't concede, I think the season will be built on defence. I think for a guy like Michael Vowd, who got the nod ahead of Ollie Sale, what a confidence booster for him to keep a clean sheet on his A-League debut. That was massive. A couple of big saves in there as well. It looked like the first game out of a season, if that makes sense. And I think the difference of playing away in a difficult opponent, difficult place like Melbourne versus playing at home with a packed stadium, I think they'll be happy with a point. Ify, would you suggest they'd be okay coming away from Melbourne with a point and a 0-0 draw?
I think so. Always a tough place to go, and like you said, to start the season, it's a really difficult one. You know, you're not sure you're ready. A few selection headaches. Mai probably not fit enough to start. He's somebody you could call upon last year and was excellent. So, yeah, I think so. You come away, like you said, Michael Vowd is the big one. I think when you've got somebody breathing down your neck as good as Ollie Sale, to get him clean sheet under his belt, some decent saves. He looked ever so confident. So, I think they'll be happy, and I think if they can back that up at home, they'll certainly look at that result and go, well, that was a good start to the season.
Although having said that, 0-0, Jesse Randall has a huge opportunity to take 3 points. I'm not sure how that doesn't go in.
Mate, like, so hard to miss the target, but somehow he does from like half a yard out. Shocking miss, and that could have set the tone. You know, that goes in, and then maybe the floodgates open. You bring on Rogerson and Mai, and Victory have no answer. But look, I haven't been that far up the field before, Ify, so it's nosebleed territory for a defender like me.
Looked like a couple of Sunday nights on the futsal court. that miss. I was watching.
Am I supposed to clear this or what?
I had Jesse. Last year. He was at Olympic, and he is a fantastic finisher. So composed, so calm. It's who you wanted it to drop to. It just happens. I've missed from similar. I think it was one of them. He had no time to think. It dropped at his feet, and you just swing at it. And I just think he got the wrong connection, and you can see by his reaction. He actually, it was hard as a miss. He couldn't believe that it had not found a way. You know, you think it hits a leg and goes in. There's no way it goes clean through all those bodies and then misses the post. It was like, oh my god, you want the ground to swallow you up. So that it's one of them, and for him, it's pretty gutting because he's probably found his way into the team. He's scored a lot of goals in the pre-season. He's been preferred over the main man, and then that's your chance to go, bang, I'm here, 1-0 win, I'm playing next week, and now Mai probably comes in, and then Jesse's trying to get back in off the bench. But, I didn't see too much of Cosgrove, so if I'm Jesse and I'm on the bench next week, I'm thinking, well, I want to play up front with Mai. That's how football works, and it's funny like that. So let's see how that sort of transpires.
Yeah, we'll chat about Cosgrove in a moment, comparing him with the Phoenix marksman up top, Ezza. We go to the distance derby, and the writing was on the wall early in that one, and somehow they've pulled it out of the fire, the Knicks. Down 2-0 early, playing this high line.
Did they play a high line? It's not like the commentators mentioned it
every 30 seconds. It's a high line. It's a high line. Are they playing the high line? Seamus, they're playing a high line.
It was a high line.
It was so high. And guys like Mandraker James and Lucas Kelly-Heald were getting caught out constantly. And Kucharski, Despotovsky, Taggart were just taking the absolute piss. Oluwayemi in goal looked all at sea. And then, as I say, they've turned it all around. But first of all, Ify, the high line, there is a place for it, but the execution of it, just a little bit dubious.
Yeah, look, we played them in our break in the pre-season, and they were very good on that day. We got beat, I think 6-1. We had 3 or 4 one-on-ones in that game for exactly that reason, of them playing a high line. I remember my talk at the half time to the boys was, look, if they're going to play a high line like this, you don't need to be pretty and cute. We're trying to slide balls between players. I said, just lift it into the space. And we lifted it into the space. And I think the first goal in the game, Oluwayemi gave away a penalty against us because he had to come out and try and deal with one that had gone over the top. And they did it well enough against us. But my when I was speaking to my staff, I was saying, if they're going to do this in the A-League, like, good luck. You're going to see a lot of games that are going to end 5-4, 6-3, God knows what. And I'm in a few group chats with former players, and they were going off after about half an hour.
Who are those players, mate? If you don't mind sharing.
I can't divulge, but it would be pretty.
Can we hazard a few guesses? No. Yeah, we won't go down that path.
You can guess, and I'll try and keep a straight face. But no, look, there was a lot of talk. What is going on? This is suicide. Blah 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 blah. And my take on it is, I'm all for a high line. If you've got pressure on the ball, then that's fine. But if there's no pressure on the ball, you have to drop. You have to deal with what's where the space is. And if you're going to do that, you need players that can run. And this is no disrespect to Kelly Hill, but that is not his strength at all. The boy James looks quick, but if it's Kelly Hill there next to him, it's never going to work. And then you're expecting Oluwayemi to be the sweeper keeper. He doesn't look too comfortable at that, in my opinion. I think it was a recipe for disaster. I think they got away with it because Perth weren't great at exploiting it. They did okay, but I think it should have been copy and paste, just keep doing the same thing. And again, they tried to do things a little bit. It was so obvious, just keep doing the same thing until they fix it, which they weren't going to. And then Perth tried to play a little bit of a different style, and then the Phoenix got back in. Now, the flip side of it, if you're going to play a high line, you have to keep the ball as well. And I don't think at the moment we have enough good ball players to really dominate possession. You should be 65, 70% possession, not losing the ball, happy to knock it around, find those little pockets. I don't know if that suits us. So I think if he carries on, which he has to now, by the way, because he's been out in interviews saying he's going to do it, this is my way, which I love it. It's super brave, but I then think, what's going to happen when you go away and try and do that in Melbourne Victory and you're 3-0 down after 20 minutes, or you're losing at home against decent sides who can exploit that. So he's been very public in what he's doing, but then do you get publicly executed if it doesn't work? So it's a dangerous game. But I like the bravery. I really like the bravery.
And they were able to come back too from 2-0 down. Like when it looked as though the floodgates might open, inside 25 minutes, I think they're down 2-0. And fair play, they fought back. I think 12 months ago or last season, that game doesn't finish 2-2.
No way.
So the fact that they come back, a nice tidy finish for the first, and then Tim Payne, by the way, who's flown from Europe all the way back again to get in there and deliver that final pass for Armiento to finish on debut. I think the Knicks come back across from the distance derby, buoyed by that away point.
Yeah.
And distance derby too, it is tough as a fan to wait for 11:45 kickoff. I dropped my phone onto my head at least 3 or 4 times in that first 25 minutes, and the AirPods fell out, and by the time I kind of came to, final whistle had gone. It was 2-2.
Yeah, but it was such a spectacle, such an interesting watch. The first half hour, getting caught out and being exposed the way that they were, but then the fight back, and the imports have been much maligned last year. But Kazuki Nagasawa, I thought that he was almost reborn that game. And if we can see more of him in that manner for the last 60 minutes of that encounter, I reckon the Knicks could go places. And you talk about the quality on the ball in midfield, Ify. How far away is Paolo Retre? Is he around? You put him in midfield with a confident Nagasawa and a stoic Alex Rufer, and maybe there's a nucleus there. And you're looking at the spine, the players through the middle of the park. Mandrake James really impressed me. I thought he was big and strong. He was hard to move off the ball. A number of Perth players tried to go toe-to-toe with him, and they could not stand with him. So there are some really positive signs there for the Knicks.
Oh, look, for sure. Look, I'm just talking about that first half an hour. I think if you take that way and you tweak a few things, and Chiefy will be smart enough to go and do that. I look at, again, they still were playing a high enough line in the second half. There's one time that Taggart got in and was clear. Mandrake James absolutely ran him down. Get off, that's mine. And I thought, okay, if you've got 2 or 3 guys who can run like him, then you can play that high line and there's no problem. So I think there's a few to come back in that can play in there that might make a difference. Obviously, you've got the likes of Corbin Piper, who now looks like he's going to be employed higher up the pitch. So that will be interesting to see.
What is his position? Because he is an everything, everywhere man, isn't he?
He's a footballer.
or muscle man.
That's it. Tick that box. That's it. I asked him last year. What's your favourite position? Where do you like to play?
Gym.
I don't care. Don't matter. I'll play anywhere.
Yeah, and gym. That's it for him.
Yeah, gains. Give me those gains. So, tidy player. I think he'll add that energy, which I think they're gonna need, because they're going to try and win the ball back at times high up the pitch and try and keep teams pinned in when you're playing that high line. That's part of it as well. So I think Chiefy will have seen enough to go, okay, a couple of tweaks here and there with the high line, and keep the ball a little bit better. But I like the look of Eze. I wasn't sure about him in the pre-season, but he took his goal ever so well on his weak side. Like you said, Nagasawa does look a different player. If they can get a Shige doing similar, then you've got a couple of decent imports that can make a difference. And again, that's what you need. Armiento, nice to get his first goal on debut. He looked tidy. He's always had a nice left foot anyway, so I think he'll add a bit of value. And like you said, if you can get Retre back in there, I think he'll add a bit of steel in there. And he's somebody who likes to keep the ball as well. So yeah, look, definitely better than I thought. After half an hour, I was thinking, right, wooden spoon, we're going to lose 5-0. This is horrific. What's going on? And I'm pleased they got the goal when they did, just before half time. I think that changes things as well. And then they came out and put in a shift in the second half and looked pretty decent. So I think really looking at the next game is massive now. Can we see strides forward? Because you can't expect them to be able to go behind and keep making these comebacks, because if you looked at it that first half an hour, you see the forwards turning around. When the ball was going in the net, they're turning around going, oh my God, here we go again. What? And don't forget, there was a couple of disallowed goals that were, you're talking millimetres. And if one of those goes in, it's probably 3-0 at half time, then it's insurmountable. So yeah, rough with the smooth. Let's see. The jury's definitely out. I'm not sure either way at the minute.
Is the jury still out on our import strikers? Because we're lucky enough, Seamus, to be talking with one of the Wellington Phoenix greatest when it comes to import attackers. Cosgrove, I think there was a lot of talk about him in the lead up to the first game. More talk about Cosgrove than Eze. The manner in which he scored that goal, where he went one-on-one with him, he squared him up and did enough to beat him. I was actually more impressed with the Knicks marksman than I was the AFC one. How did you view that?
Yeah, it's currency. Goals is the currency, right? So the fact that Ez has got one on debut in his first match in the A-League, I think, puts his nose in front. I think Cosgrove seemed to get on the wrong side of a referee early. He was
yellow card early.
Yeah,
too.
he was,
yeah,
which impacts the way you play the rest of your game. And it looks like he is a physical, imposing figure. So he is going to be in your face and flying in full-blooded for challenges. So, I guess, Ify, from your perspective, an interesting question to ask is how, if you are new to a league, how easy or how difficult is it to adjust to that? How, the bedding in period, is it weeks, months? What are we talking? Seasons?
Different for every player. I came out and it took me a while to understand my own team first. What did they expect of me? What could I expect of them? Where was I going to get my chances? Where was I going to get my joy? And then you're playing against, no disrespect, but you're playing against teams in our national league or below. So you're going out there, things are great against your Western Suburbs or against your Wellington Olympics or your Miramars. But then all of a sudden, we were away at Newcastle Jets, I think, first game of the season. And a couple of decent centre-backs. It was a completely different game. And I was like, oh, my God, I didn't score. I think Greeny scored. We lost 3-2. And I was like, oh, my God. And we'd had such a good pre-season. And then luckily, I got underway the next week and did score at home. I scored a header, which was... Yeah, I don't know how that happened because I didn't score many. That bounced off the old nugget and went in, and people thought I could head the ball, which was, a fallacy. But anyway, I think with Greeny hit the ground running sort of earlier than me, but I look at Cosgrove and I look at Eze. Cosgrove has got the CV, for sure, played at a decent level all his career, and I think it will come for him. I think what he's found, and he'll know this now, you can't play in the same way as you play in England. Hustle and bustle, elbows up. It's just very different, and he made a tackle that he probably gets away with in England, and it's a yellow card here, and in England there's probably play on, so he has to learn quickly, whereas he's got that bit more pressure because of his CV and everybody's talking about him, whereas Eze, he's come from the Iraqi league, we don't know too much about him, he can kind of fly under the radar a little bit, and then he comes up against a guy like Brian Kaltak, who we all know is excellent 1v1. Also, Brian doesn't know him. Brian's never seen him, so Brian's probably underestimated him as well, thinking, who's this guy? Then by the time he's pushed it past him, Brian's like, oh, actually, he's got a bit of toe. And then he digs it over the keeper before he realises it. So Brian won't make that same mistake again. But you can fly in under the radar if you haven't got that CV. So I think that could be handy for a player. So for someone like Eze, if he can score over the next couple of weeks, people will then start taking notice. But it might be too late. So whilst that's going, we've just got to keep getting the ball to him, I think.
And it looked to me last season missed the goals of Zavada, missed the goals, of a front man scoring regularly. Costa did a great job for Wellington with the chances that he got. But you're right, if Eza can get 2, 3, 4 on the bounce, all of a sudden it's like the 6 games that Auckland FC won at the start of the season, that momentum just starts to carry you through.
Yeah, and you mentioned Costa, and he scored on Wanderers' debut. A classic Costa, just falling back onside and lethal with a toe. It's just, honestly, I don't care if he's mid-30s. He looks after himself. He's sharp. He's fit. He's fast. I'm, as a Phoenix supporter, I'm actually pretty annoyed that he's not there anymore. And I know it's not his fault. He's gone off for reasons that probably won't be aired publicly. But yeah, I think if you've got him within the A-League scoring goals, why on earth is he not doing it for black and yellow? Or at the very least, blue and black. You know what I mean? It pisses me right off, Ify, that we've got these quality Kiwis and they're not playing for the New Zealand teams.
Oh, they should be. He should still be at the Phoenix. I mean, there's a million reasons he probably left. I think a bit disillusioned with how last season went. They hadn't sort of renewed his contract probably early enough. It maybe should have been done at the end of the season before, I think the problem is when you get to that age, clubs start going, oh, we don't want to give you a long-term contract. It could all fall apart. But it's like you said, with Costa, he keeps himself in great shape.
Yeah.
He's got a smaller body, which I think is easier to sort of maintain. And look, he still maintains great pace. And even without the pace, he's got amazing movement and timing. So even if the pace was to slow down a little bit, which it doesn't look like it has, he's still got the other bits and pieces to go with it. So I think to myself, what more do you want? He's probably one of the favourites for the Golden Boot this year. I would imagine he'll get double figures again, like he normally does. So yeah, look, I'm disappointed that he's not there as well. Let's hope that we're saying at the end of the season that it was a great Golden Boot race between Costa and Eza.
Last week we debuted a new segment on the Unused subs. Is it a new favourite of yours?
It was my favourite segment from last week.
Okay, cool, great. Positive feedback is always welcome. The 4Xs with Collinson 4X are getting in behind the Unused subs this year. And Ify, we need you to select your all-time five-a-side football team. You are captain and player and coach and manager of it. So we need to find your 4Xs. The qualifiers for this, players that you've played both with and against. So given your deeds on a football field for Millwall in an FA Cup final, I'm picking this could be one of the greatest ever five-a-side teams we will compile on the Unused subs. No pressure, mate.
Well, don't sleep on White Upper United as well. There's also it's a full gambit, isn't it, that you can select from? So let's. I'll be interested to see what comes out here.
Let's see if New Zealand's finest make Paul Ifill's 4Xs with Collinson. Paul, can you please reveal to us your first X?
Okay, well, I'm just going to apologise to everybody I've ever played with because none of them.
Oh, none of them! None of them!
I've played with some good players, but when you hear the names I'm going to give you of players I've played against,
they'll still be pissed off.
Yeah, they'll still be pissed off, but they'll understand, I think, because a lot of them will come from that FA Cup final team. A couple of them, I think one of them comes from my Premier League debut, so I'll explain. So the first one will be Rio Ferdinand. First took the pitch with him. This is one I did play with and against. I played with him when I went on trial at West Ham when I was very, very young. He was a forward at the time. I had a very good trial, scored 4 goals in 2 games and was promptly told that I was not good enough and not better than what they had. I disagreed, but if you look at the team sheet from that day, they were absolutely correct. It was Rio Ferdinand, Michael Carrick, Joe Cole. Yeah, the list was long. So they were right there.
Man, the bar has been set high in the 4Xs. So we start off with Rio Ferdinand, who's up there. Second X, please, Ify.
My next one is the mid. Well, I've got 2 midfield generals. I'll go with the youngest, and that is Steven Gerrard.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
Yeah, he can play a bit.
Oh, yeah, he definitely can.
Yeah, he was all right.
So,
he was all right.
What's the backstory with you and Steven Gerrard?
Made my Premier League debut against Liverpool, and I think Steven Gerrard actually dived that day for a penalty.
He dived. Simulation.
He simulated a penalty. Got a penalty, I think, from memory. Robbie Fowler stepped up and took it. We drew 1-1 at Sheffield United. All my friends and family there for my Premier League debut. So a pretty proud day. But I remember walking out in the tunnel and looking at the likes of Steven Gerrard was an absolute man mountain. And I'm not a small guy, but I looked over at him and thought, Jesus, felt like a little boy. And he was unbelievable. Couldn't get near him on the day. He was fantastic. We just got a bit lucky and dug in and got a point.
Where was Steven Gerrard in his personal career at that stage? Was it at the beginning or towards the middle or towards the
end? Middle. I think it would have been 2005. I think so. When was the famous night in Turkey? When was that? When did they do
that? That
was 05, yeah.
That was 05. Well, there you go. So it was that season where.
Oh God!
It was the start. It was the start of that season.
Peak Steven.
So Gerrard. He's not on the decline, yeah.
Yes. He was still balling a bit. Yeah, he was still going okay.
Oh dear, gee whiz.
Okay, that's two quite strong starts.
I'm quite taken aback by the fact that you say he was a man mountain. I don't get that from watching him. And Seamus and I, we watched him very closely, being Liverpool supporters for many, many years. I just thought he was a bit spindly, to be honest. You're telling me he's a brick shit house. Yeah. No,
big, but just like not particularly muscular, but you just looked at him and everything just looked thicker than normal. You know, big calves and big legs and. It might even be just the way he carried himself. Do you know what I mean? You know, some guys are like that. You just stood there and he knew that he was going to go out on the pitch that day and he was going to run the game. And he duly did. That was, what he did, and especially in his peak around that time. So, yeah, he was class.
Yeah. Okay, so there's one midfield general. For the third X, are you going to slot in another?
Yeah, this guy will be my captain, for sure. Absolute leader. You'd want to follow this guy into battle, that's for sure. Roy Keane.
Oh, Roy Keane, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What's the Roy Keane story?
Roy Keane, again, FA Cup final. I did manage to, I've told this story a few times before, but I did manage to get his shirt and then probably had to give it away on a coin toss because my mate had been promised it as well. What? Have I told you that one before?
No.
Okay, I'll quickly tell you this one then. So, cup final's going on, we're 3-0 down. Ball breaks in the midfield. It's me and Roy Keane going for it. It's probably an 80-20 to me. I see that it's Roy Keane coming in. I go, oh, shit. I'm definitely... Yeah, absolutely. So by the time I get there, because I carry on, it's now like a 50-50 and we both miss the ball and just smack each other. We both need treatment. We're both off on the side getting treatment. There's maybe 5 minutes of the FA Cup final left. We both stood there to come back on the pitch. He just sort of puts his arm on my shoulder and goes, well played today, son. Because I was only young compared, he was in his 30s. I think it was his 5th FA Cup final. I was 24 maybe, young kid, sort of coming up. And he said, oh, well played today. And I thought, I'm never going to get a chance again. So I'll ask him now. I said, look, is there any chance I can have your shirt after the game? He said, yeah, no worries. See me in the tunnel. Game finishes. They're doing all their celebrations, blah, blah, blah. I'm out on the pitch. I walk back in the tunnel after it's all done and I'm thinking, no way Roy Keane's going to be in the tunnel. Roy Keane is in the tunnel and he's stood there with his shirt off, handing me his shirt.
Unreal.
So I'm like, it's that awkward moment. Like, there's no way Roy Keane wants my shirt. Like, no way, ever.
I wanted to ask that.
Impossible. Impossible. So I think I'm not going to really embarrass myself, but I'm going to have to offer it. So I sort of went, I didn't say anything, I sort of went,
oh, yeah.
And he went, no, you're all right, son.
I don't know who you are.
Yeah, so I took my shirt back in. All the boys are comparing the shirts and blah, blah, blah. And then my mate, David Livermore, was sat next to me. And I had my sort of shirt tucked in the back of my shorts, Roy Keane's shirt. And I go, what's up with you? And he said, I'm just pissed off. I spoke to Roy Keane in the first half and he told me that I'd be able to get his shirt at the end of the game and someone else has got it. And I'm like, oh, God. He's like, who have you got? I went, oh, Jesus. So I said, look, I'll do your deal. I said, as you guys know, I used to like a gamble. So I said, look, we'll toss a coin and the winner gets Roy Keane. So tossed the coin. I promptly lost. And if you go to my garage now, on in the frame on the wall, it says, I feel but.
That's all right. That's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Nicky Butt. Yeah, Nicky Butt, not bad. And he played for Newcastle after that, who I support. So it could have been worse. But at the time, Roy Keane was playing in what was then a record 5th FA Cup final. I think it's now been beaten by Ashley Cole. But that was the big shirt. That was the one. Okay,
so the small matter of our 4th X, because we're still in it. The 4th and final X for Collinson. Who is it, mate?
Yeah, look, there was a few that I could have put in here. This guy at the time probably wasn't as good as I realised he would be, but it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Who?
When did you play him? When he was 8?
Yeah.
Saw him on a training paddock somewhere in Portugal.
Oh dear. I think he was 19 maybe in the cup final.
Yeah.
And I was tasked with marking him from corners. But he was, at that time, he was just a young Portuguese lad. Like, honestly, we were worried. We weren't worried about him. We were worried about Giggs, Van Nistelrooy, Scholes, Keane, blah blah blah, and this young lad who did a few step overs we weren't too fussed about. And then he was excellent on the day in the cup final. I think set one up, scored one, was pretty much unplayable. But if you'd have asked me then, would he go on to have a better career than the others on that football pitch, I'd have said no way. So what he's done is just absolutely remarkable, and to still be doing it and planning to go to a World Cup next year is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right that Cristiano Ronaldo still looks the way that he does. You know, he looks like a guy in his early 20s. And, you know, what is he, 40 years old?
And the rest, I think there's, and some change, definitely.
And like I'm closing in on 45, which isn't that much older, and I look like I'm about 60. So I don't know, is money buying him his looks or maintaining them at least?
Well, it's an interesting comparison. I think Teddy Sheringham played into his early 40s, and you know Cristiano Ronaldo is probably at a similar age now. Compare those two. Sheringham looks like he's lived a life, and Cristiano Ronaldo still looks like he could have another 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons at the top level.
I'm Sheringham and you're Ronaldo.
I don't think so. That's very kind of you. That's very, very kind of you.
I do have one more quick story about Roy Keane.
Go on.
Where we did, so again, a few years later, I'm now at Sheffield United and I'm out of favour in the Premier League. I'd spoken to Neil Warnock and I wanted to go and represent Barbados in the Caribbean Cup. Really, little holiday and represent the nation of my father's birth. So went off to the first one and did really well out there.
I like how you've dressed that up, eh?
Well,
Island time, few cocktails in the sunshine. Sounds beautiful.
Few pina coladas.
Yeah.
No, but the first tournament was good. I scored six goals in the tournament in like 3 games, and we managed to get through that part. And then the second one was closer to Christmas. This was kind of just before the transfer window was about to open, I think. So I'm out there playing in the second one. I get a phone call from a good mate of mine. They said, "Oh, you're all over the paper, getting an absolute hammering from Roy Keane." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." So it turned out while I was away, Roy Keane, who was the Sunderland manager then, had rang Sheffield United to try and sign me. And Warnock, rather than explaining what was going on, has said, "Oh, you can't talk to him at the moment. He's off in Barbados sunning himself." So rather than so rather than him actually explaining that I was actually playing in an international tournament,
playing football.
Yeah, he thought I was having a holiday because I wasn't in the squad. So he's gone in the paper, Roy Keane, and basically hammered me, saying, you know, people swanning off in the middle of the season. I'm trying to sign them. This is what I'm dealing with up here, and that was that. So I came back from Barbados. In the January transfer window opened, I signed for Crystal Palace. First game for Crystal Palace, my debut away at Sunderland.
No, stop it.
So I had to shake Roy Keane's hand after I think it was a 0-0 draw, boring 0-0 draw, but I had to shake his hand. I was dead sheepish. I hadn't done anything wrong at all, but I felt like I was the one in the wrong.
He's probably stood there like, "Oh, I'll have my shirt back," and you're like, "Oh, it's with my mate now."
This is in my small New Zealand mind, I'm thinking, oh, Roy Keane will remember you from the FA Cup final and remember that moment we had. Yeah. There's no chance he's remembering that, right?
I don't think so. This was, I'm trying to think what year this would have been. So 2004 was the FA Cup final. Would this have been 2006, 2007 maybe? I went to Palace. So it's 3 years later. I doubt it, but he was a coach. He needed to know players of that level, and I was a decent-ish championship player, so maybe he would have looked down the list and gone, "Oh, I played against him in the FA Cup final. Would he have remembered giving me a shirt?" I would, but I suppose it's because I was always the lesser of the two. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that big hitter. Do you remember little small fry like me? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like our relationship. I remember you, and you're like, "Who the frick is this guy?"
I have to check through the messages.
Yeah. What kind of name is that? Is that a typo? Surely that's grown. Yeah.
That numbers text me again. I don't.
I
don't know who it is.
Yeah. Hopefully he's put his name in one of the messages way back.
Keep scrolling, mate. Keep scrolling.
I actually do that. I sign off. I put my name in it just in case people haven't saved your number.
Even with me, mate. We've known each other 25 years.
I know.
Yeah, Shay.
Yeah. The FA Cup final experience itself, like, are you starting to think about it from winning? Must be from winning the semi-final until the day. Is it all consuming the opportunity to play in the showpiece
and
event?
Crapping your pants.
Yeah,
I've talked about it before. I think when you go into each year's FA Cup, you're not in it to make a final or to win it as a championship team. You're hoping that you get a really good game against somebody really good at some point in your run. And the semi-final draw were Manchester United, Arsenal, us, and Sunderland. So you can imagine we're in the training ground watching the draw. Sunderland would be the same, and we're begging for each other, absolutely begging for each other. And it comes out, Man U, Arsenal, and then both us and Sunderland are going, oh my God, we need to beat one championship team to make the final. You get to the final, so Old Trafford, somehow again win that one. We win it 1-0, and I got injured in that game. Had to be stretchered off with a sore groin, which is a bit sad because I should never have been stretchered off. Kevin Muscat absolutely broke his kneecap in about 8 places and walked off after me. So that went down really well.
Embarrassing.
So I managed to fight my way back to make the final lineup.
Heroic.
With my sore groin, yeah. But yeah, it's all encompassing. From the semi-final, we were 4th in the championship the day we won the semi. We finished 9th. I think we lost every game bar one between the semi and the final because all we cared about was the final. I was dropped from the team the game before the final because I was playing so poorly. I was just jumping out of tackles because I wanted to stay fit. All the stuff that you're doing, the suit fittings, you're getting new suits made. You're doing a club song, which was atrocious. But there's a little backstory to mine. So during the cup run, I'd split up with my ex-girlfriend at the time. We'd been together for 6 years. Then we got back together. And then she'd gone to do a ski season in France. And then when she got back from France, which was just before the final, 1 week before the final, she decided that she didn't want to be with me anymore. Oh. So I'm doing all the cup final songs and all that stuff. And I look like sad sack. I am the saddest guy in the world. Yeah.
No.
So yeah, horrible time. So all those times I look back and think, I wish I'd have just not given a shit because I didn't make the most of all of that stuff. I'm singing the song and all I wanted to do was go and check my phone to see if she texted me. You know what I mean? So it's one of those moments. But then it got to the night before the final, and I spoke to her. I said, look, just come to the game. We've been together 6 years. Just come to the game. I don't want to blame you for being shit in the final, and us end up getting back together and resent you for the biggest moment of my life. So she came to the final. I played okay. Didn't resent her. We didn't get back together. There was no romantic fairy tale, unfortunately, for us at the time. But yeah, so that took a little bit of the edge off it. I'm not going to lie, but it is all encompassing. There's so much to do, and it is a lot of fun, regardless of how I dealt with it at the time.
It's so relatable, eh? Oh gosh, yeah. I feel your pain, mate. Yeah, of course. Have you not been there? A long-term relationship.
I've been through
ends,
the heartache. Yeah.
My girlfriend didn't go on a ski season to France, but I suppose that's the high caliber of person that you were dating, Paul Eiffel. Where is she now?
There's funny story. I still don't know if this is true or not, but I'm pretty confident she cheated on me on the ski season, and she is now married with kids to the guy that she met out there. So happy ending for both in the end.
Oh, I'm relieved.
Yeah. And look at you. You're now living your best life down here in New Zealand.
And on the Unused subs for the first time ever.
All worked out in the end.
I think that's a pretty good place to leave it.